Hi all and welcome to another episode of An Evening with Thomas, and our guest today is someone from my hometown, or my birth town anyway, which should be fun. I hope you all understand us quite well. If things get lively, we're likely to go into full-on Scouse mode, which is a local accent in England, and we'll try our best to interpret. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. This is Hi all and welcome to An Evening with Thomas, and today's guest is John Bryan. We both picked that, unbeknownst to both of us, we both picked that particular opening because it plays into where we come from and which particular soccer team we both support, and that particular tune is played before Everton games, and it gets the heart racing, so it has a lot of meaning for us Evertonians, and so this will be an interesting show, as they all have, and I'm sure John will add his charm and wit, the same as all the other guests, and we're going to introduce him now. Hi John.
Hey Thomas, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's if someone had said to me 4 years ago I'd be doing a radio show 4,300 miles apart from somebody in my hometown, I'd have just laughed. But here we are. And we've come a long way, John, haven't we?
Haven't we just? Talk about the art racing, Thomas. You've got Z cars playing. Jesus.
Yeah.
Z cars. That's the one that gets me going every time. As soon as I hear it, the goosebumps come up.
Yeah.
And that's me. So yeah.
Yeah, it's still. I had the season ticket at Everton for from '69 through till 2002 when I left. And of course, the minute that starts, the heart goes pumping, and I still get kind of emotional when I hear that, even from 4,300 miles away, because it means so much to us.
Yeah.
Right. Can you give us a brief biography of who John is and where you come from, where you live, and maybe your school, and then we'll ease into some of the topics you're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, well, obviously everyone that knows me on the group page. My name's John Bryan. I'm 40 years of age. Born in Liverpool, born and bred here. Don't know what to say really. To be honest with you, Thomas, I'm a little bit nervous tonight. It's been a long time coming, this, for me. I've been listening to you for quite a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous
tonight,
no,
that's okay. You'll find you'll settle down. At the end of the day, it's we've just had a chat for 2.5 hours. I'm talking about many things, and it's no different now. It's live. It's still just me. I don't stand on ceremony, and it's just me. And these shows are a kind of an opportunity for everyone to have their voice heard. I keep saying it's not about me, because it's not. It's about all of us. It's important that everyone is given a platform to speak, because one of the main problems are all of us in the alternative community have suffered is having our mouths zipped, because if we open them in certain company, we get rolled eyes, we get shunned, we get cast aside, and so one of the big problems of people in the alternative media is a lot of us are inverted. We're not extrovert, we're introvert, and because we've been stifled and not allowed to speak freely, and so now we've got THI, where people can not only be more of themselves, but they can also come out and tell some of their stories in different ways, either through this show or also through writing stuff on the page in an environment where they know they're not going to be mocked, they're not going to be discounted, they're not going to be discarded. And so this is what these shows are about, and this is your opportunity to get John's side. And so how was school? Let's get into that. You all know school in Liverpool.
Thomas, yeah. Well, Thomas, first of all, I'd like to say hello to everyone listening tonight. You know, we've got a great family here. And what I want to try and do tonight, I want to try and put across that somebody coming from modest backgrounds, who's been hasn't had the easiest times, you know, someone who's just, you know, someone who you'd say wouldn't really get anywhere in life, someone who just go, you know, by his surroundings, somebody who'd be easily led into a path of nothing. Just how far we can come if we just got that persistence and we, you know, if we believe in ourselves. So what I want to try and do tonight is I want to try and paint a picture of what I've been through from young up to where we are today. I'd like to inspire a few people tonight. Yeah.
Well, let's start then. Before we get into some of your personal story, let's paint the picture of life in Liverpool.
Okay, so I started out being born the oldest of a family of four children. Sorry. There's myself, two younger sisters, and then a younger brother. I was born in relatively poor backgrounds, to parents that were young. I had a 21-year-old dad and 19-year-old mum. And growing up, my dad was a bit of a jack-the-lad type character. He was the type of guy that, you know, would be going down the pub playing football with his friends. He was only a young man himself. And obviously he was landing with a young son in a new relationship. So,
not an easy start then.
Well, it wasn't, no, because I had two younger sisters and a younger brother, obviously, after me. We didn't have much, so, you know, me I wouldn't say I was deprived of things, but, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, I was sort of, once I got to a certain age and the girls came along, it was, you know, do what you want, lad, go out there and see what the world's about, and that was a very young age. So yeah, I had a dad who was a bit of a jack-the-lad type character, you know, not the type of dad that would take you out doing things with you. You know, he was a young man, 21. He was doing his own thing. Yeah. He was, you know, he was still a boy himself, effectively. But look, I had a mum who was, you know, an amazing person. You know, someone that's been really prominent in my life. She gave me a lot of the values that I've always, you know, that have carried me on to where I am today. And I'm very proud to be who I am today. Yeah. You know, she was a very wise, soulful person, really strong character and deep. Somebody that made me feel loved, you know, gave me everything that I needed. You know, that was the early days, and so I had that, but obviously I was always missing that father character, and learning as I've grown up, the character that I am, the person I am today, I needed that. I needed a man who was going to be able to be there for me.
The role model, so to speak.
Yeah, a role model, Thomas. You know, someone that was going to show me, you know, the ways in life and give me all the things that I needed. You know, we'll go into that later, but unfortunately that wasn't to be.
Yeah, well, part of the problem of particularly Liverpool, given we are both born there, is in the certain parts of the city, you know, there was the old standing joke of Kirby was one, and Heighton's another, and Croxter's another, you know, and Bootle. So these are all regions in the city of Liverpool that were heavily depressed, and poor backgrounds littered with violence and alcohol and drug abuse and all kinds of other things. It was like life hadn't moved on from the Stone Age, or certainly the Middle Ages. And there used to be a joke where they would ask the kids of those particular regions, what do you want for Christmas? And the answer was a dad. And yes, it was a joke in some ways, but it was the harsh reality of life in the poorer regions of Liverpool, is that so many dads were missing. Yeah. And they'd gone down wrong paths because of the depression and the poverty of that area. That's something that you saw yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was more of a, it was a generational thing. Yeah. My granddad was the same, and on. It was all, that was the way to be. Be a man, go out, drink, work hard. Be with the boys, finish your day's work, go home, give your wife a couple of bob. For all you American listeners and elsewhere, give them some money, and then do one, and then just go and be a lad again and leave your family. That was the way it was. It was accepted in them days.
Yeah, but, it's the culture, and particularly the drinking culture. It plays in heavily. But we'll touch on that maybe a bit later. But then, at the age of 4, you were up sticks and went to visit Adolf in Germany.
Yeah, that's an experience. Yeah.
So, what happened why did you end up in Germany, and what happened? Were you able to speak there?
Well, obviously at the age of 4. Before that, there was a couple of little things that happened to me that were a bit supernatural. Like obviously,
I will cover them. I'll just shift them around for a bit.
So going to Germany at 4. Basically, my father, being a jack the lad, got himself into a bit of trouble. Won't go into exactly what it was, but he got himself into a bit of trouble with the law, and that's up sticks. So he took me, my mother, over to Germany to go and stay with me mother's sister and her husband. Her husband was in the army, he was a chef for the army, so we went over there to get away from Liverpool, so we could dodge the law, so to speak. Something I've done a few times. So yeah, he took us over there, and found myself in Germany and getting put into a kindergarten over there with German kids, which was a bit of an experience.
It's a lot different to culture, isn't it, in Germany than
from getting took from where I was from in Liverpool. It's like a very centred city. If you don't live in Liverpool, if you live 5 miles outskirts of Liverpool, then you're a foreigner, you're an alien. So to be taken over to Germany at that age,
completely.
Thrown into a kindergarten over there at 4. Anyway, I was put in there, and I've got some vague memories of it, but it's things I've been told about more recently, since I've had more open relationships with my parents, that have really caused me to think about those days, and triggered a lot of things for me and helped me with dealing with my shadow side and stuff. And one of the main ones was I was put into school, and one day I think I was up in a tree house, and I remember this day. Obviously I was the English kid with all the German kids, so I was the outsider. And I remember being in a tree house with all the kids. I had one friend that I'd sort of made friends with, who decided to push me out the tree house, so I fell out the tree house from quite a height and broke my arm. Apparently I was taken into, I don't remember it, but I was taken into hospital, and treated and a plaster was put on my arm. And apparently when my mum come to the hospital, we'd only been there 2 to 3 weeks, a few weeks, 4 weeks. And when she came to the hospital and spoke English in a Scouse accent, which makes it worse, apparently she was told by the doctors, she was greeted with real surprise by the doctors, that the fact that I was speaking full on German, I was talking, with a German accent to the doctors, which he was obviously astounded about. So that was something that really got me thinking, was how was that? I was 4 years of age, I'd been there for 3 or 4 weeks, and I was talking full blown German to the doctors.
Well, it's likely it plays back into past life. It also plays into perhaps some other events that we're going to cover later when things settle down a bit. There's a possibility you were taught, and there's also children have the full capability of learning everything before the age of 7. That's the key age. And we often think that only kids, without realising that they actually know more than we do. They have more of the senses. When the programming kicks in, when they subsequently when they start school, and they become schooled in the art of indoctrination, that the abilities and the extrasensory abilities start to phase out, because they're taught that's not real, that's not this, that's not that, and programmed into a different reality. So children left to their own devices will learn far quicker than an adult, because they haven't been through the program yet, unless you're in the Illuminati families, because then it starts in the womb, which we covered in the Swali stuff. So it's difficult, and people, how can I do that? Well, there's a few scenarios that there's the possibility, and only you know that, or you will find that out eventually. So you spent how long in Germany, and then ended up moving back to Huyton? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, we were over there for about, I think it was 2 or 3 years. We were over there. My dad got himself playing for us like a second division German football team. Oh. He was talented at football, and so we ended up staying over there, and he settled. But there was another thing that happened over there which I only found out recently, from the auntie that we went and lived with, and another one that just got me. I was speaking to her recently over Facebook, and she told me that when we lived with them, she used to sit up regularly of a night time until the early hours of the morning. And again, we hadn't been there long, because we were there about 4 weeks, 5 weeks apparently, and then we moved and got my mum and dad found their own place. But when we were there, she told me that recently that when I was asleep, she used to sit up and listen to me having full-blown conversations in German to somebody whilst I was asleep, which I found quite strange. Again, I hadn't been there long. It was a 4 or 5 week stay, and I know kids have got brains like sponges. Yeah,
but it still doesn't explain the fluency of the language.
No,
you can talk broken German, and of course we in Liverpool are quite famous for talking broken Spanish when we go abroad. Uno, un bergio. Forgetting that it's more Italian than Spanish. But you know what I mean. So everything ends in O. And that's our version of speaking Spanish. But German is quite an aggressive, brutal sounding language. It always sounds aggressive when they're speaking, even though the people delivering it are not. And so it's not an easy crossover. People who learn French can quite easily learn Spanish, can quite easily learn Portuguese, but the Germanic and the Dutch, the same peoples really, although some people might not like me saying that, but there's still a Germanic nation as such. And so suddenly, you're speaking this sprechen die Dutch, and and it's a different rolling of the tongue and everything.
That's it. It's not like it's not like a rolling accent from one country to the next. It's a completely different accent. That's what's always really made me think. It's not like it'd be easy to pick up at that age.
No. So was that one of the things that made you think that something different is in play here on this planet, because you kind of learned something that you don't know where it came from? So it's kind of the way that I started off, thinking something's not right here. Where did all this knowledge come from? Your aspect is, where did this language come from?
Yeah, well, I always remember being, shortly after, like you said, we came back to Liverpool, and I remember getting put back into school in Liverpool in Huyton, which is, like you said, a pretty rough area, and I was thrown back into the school just amongst all, English kids, and the first thing that everybody did was crowd around me on the playground and was, here's the crowd, speak German for us. So, I got a bit of that, and it was like, it was being thrown from one end of the world to the other.
Yeah.
And you had to be expected to just fit in. It wasn't, it was a massive wrench for me at the time, because going from there to there was totally different worlds. It was like living in two different worlds.
Yeah.
But yeah, for them to... I got put into school, and then obviously in Liverpool, and then you've got kids asking you to speak German. Now, I obviously, that you want to fit in at that age. You don't want to be somebody that that stands out. So I didn't, and I just let it. I played it down, and basically, I think within a year or two, I probably forgot the whole German language.
This plays into what I said earlier. We turn into introverts, and this is how they've played the game, is to stifle expression and get you to conform to peer pressure, and ultimately compete against your peers, so then you are distracted. And so you're still new to this world, or may not be your first time, but new in this lifetime, and then suddenly to up sticks and go to another country and then not even recognise the language. It was just nowhere near English, at least there's a crossover with French and Spanish. There's some you can understand, but German is completely different from everything else that's in Europe anyway. And then suddenly you get settled there, and then you're thrown back into what should be in a comfortable environment, because it's where you were born in, but it's not, is it? It's a different world again.
No, it was like starting again. It was as if they were going to mess me around as best they could. That's how I look at it now. They wanted to take me away from my comfortable environment, throw me into a completely different one, see how I adapted, and then when I was just getting comfortable again, because I consider myself, the divergent. I can mix around and I can pick things up quite quick. So I think it was like, okay, well, he's got that now, so we're going to push him on again now. And basically what they did was they threw me out the frying pan into the fire and back into the frying pan again.
Yeah.
It was early experiences being messed with for me.
Yeah.
That's the way I...
Yeah. Because they know who's who that comes in. They know the ones that could develop into something that they don't want. and then they'll start playing games, and they can either play games direct, and there's a certain element of the population where they can't play them direct and they have to do it indirect, so they'll attack the people around you.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Too many for it to be a coincidence. Too many have gone through these same experiences where parents, the one or both parents, have not done the right thing, not brought up the child the right way, not supported the child, or not loved the child enough, or in some cases, or a lot of cases, actually been abusive, both verbally and physically. Violent parents, and it's, to me, there's too many. I see patterns. We spoke about this earlier, where I'm listening to people who are in the alternative community, both the speakers, radio show hosts, and the speakers that do the conferences and the circuit, and they've all gone through the same thing. Bad parenting, didn't go down well in school, and then suddenly the incidents with police after they left school appears out of nowhere. Some of them down to their own behaviour, and some of it not. It's targeting because they haven't achieved what they wanted to achieve in the indoctrination programme. And of course, growing up in Liverpool, it's, for those that don't know, Liverpool was the major port for the whole of the world at one point, and all the slaves that came from Africa, that came from Ireland, that came from Eastern Europe, all came from Liverpool to America, and Liverpool, the city, was overloaded with a whole different range of cultures, but a lot of the Irish ones that left were not well enough or poverty-stricken and diseased to travel, and a lot of them stayed in Liverpool, and so Liverpool then developed a lot of Irish culture, and it's littered with the Irish, and the ones that went to America became what's known as the rednecks, because they always had the rednecks because they're more used to the northern climates and it being cooler, or the hillbillies. They're all Irish descendants, and it all came from Liverpool, but Liverpool's population grew because all the slaves came there, and some left but some didn't, and so then you've got a potpourri of cultures who have been oppressed, be it via religion, via governments, or via kings, as it was back then, basically downtrodden these people, and then you've got the African people, and so the whole frequency of Liverpool was destroyed in that period. Because you've got a lot of poor people who have got negative energy, and the haves and the have-nots. And Liverpool, because of the Irish connection, has always been the rebel city. We're all rebels, and Liverpool, as you will know, has been crushed by the media and by the government to stifle that rebellion.
Yeah.
If there was a strike, a work strike, it always started in Liverpool. We're not tolerating those conditions, and some of the rest of the country would follow. But as it became, the media did a hit piece on Liverpool that were all lazy, alcohol-laden thieves, and it stuck as a meme. Then the rest of the country didn't support us, and we got left more and more isolated. And so this is the background to the city where we both were born and came from, and the schools, are religious based. And so when you came back, it must have been rather difficult, because the Germans are very regimented and we're more free spirit rebel, and so there's another clash of cultures then. And then so was school a struggle for you, and in what way?
Big time. I mean, very similar to yourself, Thomas. When you spoke about school, I've got a lot of synchronicities with yourself, to say the least. Let's just say when I got put back into school, it was the first day back in school. I had a fight at the end of the school day, and that was the norm. It was to prove yourself as a lad in Liverpool. You had to fight. That's what you had to do, and I remember having that first fight. And it was a traumatic experience because I wasn't used to it. In Germany, it was different. The people over there were a bit more. I always found them a bit more loving. I've got a better, I've got a lovely experience in Germany actually, memory-wise. But when I got brought back to Liverpool, it was straight in the middle of it. So I got fighting straight after school, and I cried my eyes out straight after the fight. It was just floods of tears because it wasn't me. And I remember that feeling of it was alien to me. It wasn't what I was, but I had to do it. So yeah, I got thrown into into it head first, let's say, and then I realised quite soon that school wasn't for me. It was for one, I can't be told. I wouldn't be told by anyone. I didn't like authority, never have, and never will. So as soon as someone started telling me things, my mum never dealt with me that way. You see, she was always, she was always a lovely, empathetic person. She always spoke to me right. She always taught me the right things. She always, the way you want your mother to be. And so when I got put into school in Liverpool, it was, well, what didn't help was the first experience that I remember having in that particular school. I got put in the school, and it stands out a mile. I was in the classroom. And the teacher's name was Mrs. King, and she had jet black hair. And as soon as I laid eyes on this lady, well, I wouldn't call her a lady, this thing, I knew that there was something not right about her. Let's just put it that way. And straight away, Thomas, she picked me out. I just remember it. She looked straight across the room at me. I was in the back corner of the room, and she looked straight at me, and she basically just got stuck into me. She didn't like me one bit. Obviously at that age, I think I was 7 years of age, and I remember just being torn apart by her. And as she was saying whatever she was saying to me, her face just changed. It was one of the earliest memories I've got of seeing, things that people wouldn't consider normal. And she looked at me and her face changed. She just contorted into this demonic looking goat, let's just put it that way. And that wasn't the best thing she could have done for me, let's put it that way. She done that, and I seen it, and I ran out of class. I just went straight out the classroom door, and I remember running straight across the fields, across the playground, straight across the fields, and running a 2-mile run all the way home with wind in my sails. And I got home, and my mum was absolutely amazed, you're shocked that I turned up at the door. I remember it like it was yesterday. And what are you doing here? Why are you home from school? What got me in the house? And I told her what I'd seen, and she was absolutely gobsmacked. I think she must have thought I'd lost it, Thomas. But she was a spiritual type person. I think she sort of understood me. She must have felt it off me that I wasn't lying. It wasn't imagination, because I was a very imaginative child. But I think she did understand me, and and that was the first real experience of school that I remember, and that basically just set me on my way. I knew from that moment on that school wasn't for me. Let's put it that way.
I had this. I went to Glarus Street School, which is right underneath the Bullens Road stand at Everton, and the teachers was picking me out from age 6. I was a lot more advanced arithmetic-wise, or math as they call it here. I had a reading age of 14 at 6, a writing age of 13 at 6, and arithmetic that would stump people at this age now, even some of the adults.
Same here.
Instead of enhancing it, they crushed it. And then I think we both have this. I think it's indicative of where we come from. We have a deep mistrust of authority, and teachers and police and governments represent authority, and so there's that frequency resonance that you can't explain at that age. You just know it's not right, but you haven't developed enough to learn to know that's what you're seeing, and that's and you're picking up on a frequency. And it's only until you get into your adult and you start learning about these things. So it wasn't just a freak thing that the teacher picked me out, or I picked her out and knew she was going to be trouble, because my own body told me.
Yeah.
This is when I said to this, you need to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
People ask me for answers, and I'll supply answers to a point where if it's going to help them to go on to the next stage. But if it's personal to themselves, who am I to tell them which way that they can interpret their own truth and their own knowledge? So you're now in a school where you feel, then the paranoia kicks in, and then you just go more and more and more introverted, where I virtually never spoke.
Yeah.
People would be people of Liverpool who knew me would be amazed that I'm doing a radio show. What? Thomas speaks? Because you will probably have done the same thing, John. You will gone in on yourself and become an observer.
Yeah.
And it's a silent world, it's a lonely world, but you also see a lot more. And this then leads into other possibilities. You end up going into certain realms, and I use that word specifically, that others wouldn't see because of the environment that's been created. So we're going to cover some of them shortly. So you ended up moving school. Did it get any better?
No. No.
I knew the answer.
No, it didn't. It got worse.
It got worse, yeah.
Yeah, it got worse, yeah. It just got ramped up. I think because the way I was, I ran, the first thing I did was run away, and I think that freaked the teacher out. She was shocked. I remember her face when I ran out of class, and I think, I'll be honest with you, without using profanities, I told her where to stick it as well as I ran out the classroom. I was, you know what I mean? I didn't just go. I think it was like in front of the whole class, and me being me, I've got a history of doing this, of let's just say telling people where to stick it in front of other people, knowing that I could teach them a lesson, but it'd be at my own expense, if you like. So I knew it was wrong running out that classroom, and I knew I was going to get told off by my mum at that age, but I did it. And I remember turning around at the whole classroom and just looking at them, and I've always struggled with why. And obviously, knowing what I know now, I look back now and I say, I was actually trying to tell them all, get the hell out of there, just go. Come with, run home. Don't be here.
We don't need it.
Yeah, we don't need to be here.
It goes back. I don't particularly like Pink Floyd. I like the music, but the singer.
Waters.
It's like Bob Dylan. He's fantastic at writing, but please don't sing. It sounds like the drunkard down the Irish pub in the town centre.
We should have left that one.
Just
to give that to Gilmore.
But Pink Floyd wrote The Wall, and on the cover of the album, it had the school but it was a mincing machine, and they were pouring the kids in the mincing machine, and what you do with a mincing machine, it all comes out the same. And it was warning you then. And of course there was a lot of I've covered this before about the rock, or the heavier rock groups were writing stuff that were waking people up, because most of the people that followed heavy rock were all the university people, so they weren't stupid. And you know, Led Zeppelin talking about travellers from both time and space, and Kashmir basically telling you where the ETs were, or one of the bases was, which is Kashmir. And it goes on from there, and Pink Floyd talked about the wall and the education, and you know, some people you just can't control.
Yeah.
That doesn't make them unruly. You just have to channel their energy in a different way, and unfortunately in a school environment there's no allowances for it, because you have to follow orders. Yeah. And some of us can't follow orders. We will follow orders. I'm quite happy working behind a leader. I always have been, as long as that leader is doing the right thing. If they're not, I'm going to speak up.
Yeah. And
I will step forward and replace. But I'm quite happy playing in a group setting, as long as the ones further forward are doing the right thing. And if they're not, that's why I was always popular in school, because I used to stand up for the kids. You know, things were not being done right by some of the teachers, so I called for an all-out strike, and the whole school went on strike at 10 years of age. We had the whole school sitting all in the nice rows, and in the class rows that they had, where they all line them up for when you're going back in, so you could count all the kids back in. You know, like nice sheep going back into the pen.
Yeah.
This particular headmaster didn't like me. In fact, none of the teachers particularly liked me. And I thought, right, okay, they've done a wrong, and the teachers lied to get me into trouble. We'll all go on strike until they admit they were wrong. And we sat outside for an hour, and no one would move. And again, that shows you that the introverts can also be leaders. It doesn't always require an extrovert. It's just how you handle people and how you look after people. And I always looked after people, even though I'm only small, I'm 5'6". I was even smaller at school. I was one of the smallest, but I had a big voice, and I always wanted to look after people who I thought was valid to look after. And that makes you popular, because you, like me, other people will think things, but we say, you know, and yes, it gets us into a lot of trouble. And I've no doubt you kind of drove your parents crazy, and you were cast as a black sheep of the family, same as me. Is that correct?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. Bear in mind, I was, my two younger sisters I remember my parents asking me, because by the time I was going into like senior school, they said, should I go to St Edward's College, which is at Thomas, it's a pretty posh, private school.
My mother was going to send me there, funny enough, and I said no.
Well, there you go, and I said no too. They asked me, and there was no way I was going there. It just wasn't going to happen. It didn't resonate at that young age. Let's just put it that way. But my two sisters went there. But one of them got in with an assisted place. One of them was paid for. My parents obviously wanted the best for us, which I'll always commend them for. They didn't have much, but you know, they really made something of themselves, and came from a rough background into what you'd call a semi-detached, nice little road. So they gave us what they could. But my sisters went there, but I didn't. I couldn't go. I just knew it wasn't for me. It just weren't for me, Thomas. I had other fish to fry, you know.
Well, for me, it was like an hour on the bus, so it was an hour there and an hour home, and that just made the school day even longer.
Well, you had to wear the purple blazer for starters to go. There's no way I was going to wear it. At that time, you know, I had a rep. And you see yourself as again. That's the way I was, and I ain't going there. It just ain't gonna work. If I'd have went there, I think I'd have ended the school. Let's put it that way. I'd only get to stand.
So then, you during school and perhaps just after school, you started having some experiences that would be classed as not normal. But then, is there any such thing as normal in this planet? Because I'm not saying any of it. I don't know what's normal and what's not, but reality is so distorted. Well, you started having some strange happenings and some night terrors and various other things. And you tell us roughly at what age and what triggered that and what you got out of it or developed out of it.
Yeah, well, from my own memory, the earliest memories and recollections I've got of things like that happening to me was, I'd say I was probably quite young. I was probably about the age of 6, 7, what I remember. And the earliest memory I've got of it was, the main one, I used to be repeatedly chased around in my dreams by he looked like a vampire. And if anyone remembers Sesame Street and the vampire off Sesame Street,
with
you look
Corey Good and the big bluebird.
Yeah. one cupcake, 2 cupcakes. That guy. Yeah. Well, he was the guy, and he used to turn up with a black hooded cloak on. As soon as I went to sleep, and I knew it before I was going to sleep. Actually, I can remember going up the stairs with my back to the wall. I can remember going into the bedroom and getting under the covers before I even went to sleep because I knew they were coming. And I'd go to sleep, and this guy had come and see me. And most times I'd run out the front door of the house, and I'd go running around the block, and he'd be chasing me. And I'd have that experience of, you know, when you're running in the dream and you're hardly at sight to run, you can't run any, you know, you're getting slower, and it's catching up with you, and then when he got near you, you'd be off again, nice and fast, and then you keep going, and I'd be down the entries, which was like the side entry to all the streets. I'd be back down the road, and I'd be back to our house, and I'd get to the door, my parents would answer the door like my saviours, and then the guy would be running up the pathway behind me, he'd get right by me, I'd run in the house, he'd close the door, I'd get in nice and safe, my heart would stop beating, I'd turn round, and then my parents would become those demons as well, and then think, out it'd go. I'd wake up in a absolute drenched with sweat. I'd have spiders, snakes, you name it, going round the light bulb ahead of me, and my mother would be trying to calm me down, and that went on for quite a long time. I think I had those almost every night for a long time. Yeah. From when I was young.
It's immersing you into a condition where it's shutting you down, and most people are becoming more and more familiar with this, whereas going back when this was sorts of happening, these people are freaks. They've got the schizophrenic, they've got mental health problems, this and attention seeking and all this stuff, and it's all a plot for the ones who are going to wake up in the future or have the potential to wake up. And they do know the signatures. They know when you come in, which soul is entering in, and they target. And most people, like I said, it's only the last few years are realising the levels of the targeting that's been going on, and for how long it's been going on. You know, because that kid's always naughty. He's just trouble. You know, that's what I got told. You know, well, no, actually, there's something going on. But you try and convince parents in the early 70s that the school and the doctors and the hospital are working against you, and the justice system, and people were really into the authority program then, because their word is God. It's only in the last 5 years really that people are seeing through the illusion that all these systems are all interlinked. The social services, the schools, the justice, the police, the government, they're all working for the same people. The people working for them may not be aware of who they're working for, but they're certainly carrying out the programs. And then you have entities coming in and interfering and trying to shred people's brains to a point where it snaps. So you've already gone through school where you've been challenged, and you feel the rejection of one of the parents, and so there's a disconnect there. Then you've gone to school and there's a disconnect there. Then you go to sleep, there's a disconnect there, because you're seeing things that most people think are not real.
Yeah.
And it's all geared towards splitting the brain. This is the mind control program. Is once you get the child traumatized, is then they've got an altered version of you inside you. We mentioned this earlier, and we were talking about Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney has a child alter. That's why he's always misbehaving. He hasn't dealt with his inner trauma. That's why he drinks when he doesn't really need to. That's why he doesn't look after himself, because the child alter in Wayne Rooney is too prevalent in his life.
It's funny this, Thomas, because I never mentioned this to you earlier, but there was a time going back a couple of years ago, and me and my lovely Laura were walking along the street, and believe it or not, Wayne Rooney's mother and father were walking towards us, up like a shopping centre in Liverpool, and they're walking towards us, and this guy is absolutely looking me wife up and down as we're walking towards them, like I wasn't there. And I mean, like, you know, sexually looking up and down. I'm looking at this guy thinking, you're with your wife, you're looking me wife up and down, have some respect. And then I realised who he was. So, you know, that says a lot, doesn't it? That's where he comes from.
Yeah, it's a rough area, and it's poverty stricken, and criminal elements rule the roost, and sometimes you can step out of that, or you get immersed in it. There's no grey area, and that's one of the things that shocked me about Liverpool. I ended up taking a job where I was helping the elderly and taking them to the daycare centres. And growing up as a kid, I kind of lived in the more affluent areas than most, but we did come from a poor background as well. But my dad earned a lot of money working on the docks, and so we could afford a better house. You know, we ended up on Queen's Drive, which is, you know, they were all Queen's Drive at the
You're posh. You're posh, Tom.
they were the establishment homes. They had maid bells still in the house, where they ring the bell in the bedroom and the maid would come up and service.
Well, that's why they called it Queen's Drive. It was the main entrance straight from the main artery through Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know, and so it's difficult. But I took this job, and then I was driving all around Liverpool, and I used to remember areas like West Derby being classed as posh, or for the Americans, middle class, and West Derby was, and Egbert and certain portions of the south of Liverpool. In fact, a lot of the regions in the south of Liverpool were declared posh or middle class. And then suddenly I'm driving through it and I'm seeing it all vanish, and it's all melded into one, whereas the nicer parts of Walton was trampled on by parts of Croxteth and parts of the Zackley and parts of the Bullring that moved out of the town centre, where they moved them further north. And of course Bootle was always the den of iniquity. It always has been, because of the docks and the transient population there going back.
Yeah, a lot of Irish and all, a lot of people like that living down there.
And so everything converts. Croxteth converts on West Derby, and Tuebrook converts on West Derby. And I'm thinking, we're really getting down to a few roads now. And that's what really, really shocked me about when I'm driving around doing these routes, as we call it here, routes back in the UK. Picking up the elderly, taking them to the day centres, and I'm visiting all the regions, Huyton and everywhere. And how far down it had gone, I didn't even realise, being in my own city. And it's sad, and it was deliberate by the government. They kept cutting the funding to Liverpool because they knew if they squashed Liverpool, that's the end of the rebellious people in the country, because the rest of the country just used to bow down.
Yeah.
Of course, we had the issue of property taxes, as we call it, in America, council tax, and who was the first to stand up and say, we're not paying your extra council tax, we're just not paying it.
We were the biggest anti-Thatcher city in the country.
Yeah. And so what happened then is you got, instead of the whole country coming out, you ended up with 4, I think, Manchester and Sheffield supported it, and someone in Scotland, I think. And after that, the rest just, like sheep, followed. But we're rebels for a reason.
Yeah.
And this has cost us dearly living in Liverpool, because then the media took over, and where it was you had a whole lot in the 60s of the fake Scousers. Suddenly, because they come from Liverpool, they think they can sing on the back of the Beatles and their Tavistock programme and like that. We had a whole heap of comedians, which is, Liverpool is known for the humour, and it was considered cool to be a Scouser, even if you lived on the other side of the water, which is not really Scouse, but everyone wanted to be a Scouser in the 60s because of the popularity of the Beatles, and also the 2 football teams were doing well in the 60s. And then suddenly in the 70s all that changed.
Yeah.
And it became a war of attrition, which ultimately we lost.
Yeah, tackles, didn't they?
Yeah, and they've basically kicked everything out of us, all that fight. And one of the shocking things that I saw last year in the Brexit vote is that the people of Liverpool voted to stay in. We 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that was unthinkable. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to pick up on, Thomas, that struck me late. What everybody were, all that old generation in Liverpool, the real die-hard Liverpoolians, they all wear a certain type of gold ring, don't they? It's a sovereign.
Yeah.
And that struck me lately. I'd never thought of it before. When I was about 18, my granddad gave me a cluster sovereign ring that he'd bought on his 18th birthday. He's 88 now, he's still here. He's a legend, big influence on my life. But when I was 18, when I became a man, he gave me a sovereign ring, and it was a cluster gold sovereign ring. And I knew it was special, and I still got it to this day. I wouldn't wear it anymore because it's not fashionable anymore to wear a big cluster sovereign ring. But I realised why he gave me. The man's got Alzheimer's and dementia now, so I can't ask him. But I think I know why he gave me that ring, Thomas.
Yeah, because the term sovereignty is going to be rather prevalent.
Yeah, and I think that's special about our city. Our
Yeah.
city is special that way because we've managed to hold on, like a lot of the old tribes have, in a way. And I've never ever called myself English. I always call myself Scouse. I don't class myself English.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's the way I've always seen myself. Even with the German background. Yeah, and I think that's what we've held on to, is that tradition of sovereignty. Somehow we've managed to keep it. And I was given that on my 18th birthday. Yeah. I think it's quite important.
Yeah, because we stood up for ourselves and we stood up for everybody else, because we were always trampled, and particularly with when the slave trade was operating and the volumes of Irish that got boated over from Ireland to the port of Liverpool, which then took them to New York and Ellis Island, and some of them weren't allowed to travel because they were just not well enough, and the last thing they want was a load of deceased people on a 3 to 6 month journey, and then them not collecting on the slaves on the other side.
Yeah.
And so the city is Irish based. That's the reality of it. There's good elements to that, and there's not so good elements to it.
And I think there's a bit of New York as well. I remember watching a documentary, and it said and it was quite interesting. Our accent comes from Irish descent and New York, obviously with all the trading back in the day.
Well, no, New York came from Liverpool and Ireland.
Yeah, but what I always found interesting was when you do a boundary of Liverpool and you draw the line on the map, if you cross that line, the accent changes.
Yeah.
Astronomically, it's not like, and it's the only place in the UK where if you start moving miles outside of Liverpool, it doesn't blend. Like everywhere else you go, it blends. The accent blends into somewhere else. Liverpool doesn't. As soon as you hit a certain boundary, it goes from, you can distinctly tell a person who lives on that side of the boundary to the other.
Yeah,
no
well,
matter.
you go out to the, Liverpool was part of Lancashire. And Manchester and all the regions in Cheshire have a Lancastrian accent. It's not a Manchester accent, it's a Lancastrian accent.
We call it Woollyback.
Yeah, we call it Woollyback.
Because
for those who don't know in America, Woollyback is a derogatory term for people outside of Liverpool. So, fake Liverpoolians.
Well, they used to walk miles to come down. They used to collect the wool and they used to carry it back to Lancashire on the back, and that's why they were called backs.
Woolly-backs. So and then there's not a vast flow of difference when you go from Lancashire to the southwestern part of Yorkshire. It's difficult to tell whether the Yorkshire or Lancashire unless you go further north. So
like Mark Power, but he supports Liverpool, so I don't quite know what to think of that. One of our members.
We'll kind of ignore him for his stupidity. So, right, where are we next? Before I get into trouble, don't get me on talking on that. Psychic attacks. I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We've still got one more thing to cover, but I'm going to switch that to a later part. We're going to go into a song because we kind of run over the hour, and then we're going to come back to some of your life, age 10 to 20, and some other things that went on there. Right. Hope you enjoyed this next song. This is. All the music was picked by John, and this is called F-E-A-R by Ian Brown. Hi all, and that song was Ian Brown and F-E-A-R, You've Got to Fear. Something we've been trying to get our members to step outside of. So we've gone through the harsh life of growing up in what is quite a depressed city for one reason and another, and you've gone through your school and how difficult that was, and being switched from one country to another, and Then we come into your teen years, and things started to go a bit awry. Maybe there was some violence involved, and maybe you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, definitely, Thomas. Yeah, things started to get a little bit difficult then, and the reason I played that song is because that's when the fear really kicked in. That was when I first started to obviously see the naughty things in life that you could see as such. Life got hard. Obviously we were all growing up then as kids, and my parents were struggling. My dad had to find work away, where he was working away out the city all week, and my poor mother had 4 children to look after. She had, but we still had much to give us. So yeah, it was difficult, really hard at that time. She as much as beautiful a woman as she was, she just, obviously it was too much for her. She had too much on her plate, and she just couldn't cope. So basically, being the oldest, I was, go on, get out there, son, go and do what you want to do, and that's the way I started to live my life. So I started to see things and knock about with older kids, and probably started living a bit too fast. Started doing things too soon, actually.
Yeah, he then, but in essence, you are thrust as the oldest, if I understand it correctly, as the father figure. When you're still trying to find your own way.
Very much.
And you've already had some experiences where that's not classed as normal, and there's the constant disconnect. The father missing. There was a lot of issues in the 70s and 80s where there was no jobs left in Liverpool deliberately, and so a lot had to go to London or further south, 200 miles away, just to get work and provide for the family. But it's no longer a family.
No.
It's dysfunctional, and of course this is the way that the powers be want. They want rid of the family model, and so they will have everyone being transient and moving jobs. And if you want a job, you have to go east. That's the latest. It wasn't then. If you wanted a job in England, you had to go to London, and so a lot of the contractors and the financial people all went down to London, including the media people. Everything got centred around London, and of course London is affluent to a point. It's not no more. It's degenerated into a den of iniquity and crime, the same as everywhere else, because there's elements of the haves and have-nots. Again, it becomes too stark, and the idea is that all the work went south. London's 200 miles roughly away from Liverpool, for the American listeners, is the people of Liverpool couldn't afford to buy a house or even rent in London. So it's like somebody who lives in Tennessee and Kentucky, where the houses are a lot cheaper, moving to a top class apartment in New York. You're not going to be able to afford it, and so dad's away. Dad's earning money to keep the family going, and dad's probably, like most of them, went by the wayside because he's free again, and this is the trouble. You've had all these disconnects, and so then you're then led into peers groups, which is what you said before, mixing, and that leads into situations where things go drastically awry, and the minute you get into those elements of groups that are just criminal in nature, or disruptive, or violent, or drink or drug related, then you're on the cycle that the powers that be want you to be, and so you kind of ended up in the fighting mode and on peer pressure, so to speak.
Oh yeah, big time. That's what I was faced with at that time. That's exactly what it was. It was I was just, when you feel like you're trying to do something with yourself, you're trying to move along, and then all of a sudden you just you get it's hard, Thomas. You get people everywhere you go, whatever you're trying to do, you've got people just pushing down on you.
Sidetracking.
Yeah. Everywhere you go, whatever you do, and that's what I felt like.
So did you get any solace? Did you meet any girls or did that? See, girls can have two effects, or females can have two effects. You can have the female that suddenly settles you down, and you feel loved again, which less of the disconnect, or it can lead to a situation where it becomes under peer pressure, how many you can knock off, as we say back in England, how many you can sleep with, and again that leads down to dangerous paths. Is that the kind of path that you ended up going on?
I did, yeah. Being brought up by a woman, a mother, basically, because that's how I felt. I didn't have a father figure around. I had two younger sisters. I had a hell of a lot of respect for women, and I think I just always craved a woman's affection, and that's the way I sort of it started for me. I started having relationships with girls quite young because I think I was always looking for that woman's love, I was always looking at that. That's what I knew, and I never had the guidance from a father to say, okay, you need to do this, do that. I was always looking for a woman's love. So, but what I did was, I started having easy relationships quite young with girls. I was always looking for the attention of ladies, because women and girls, because that's what I knew best. That's what I was accustomed to. I didn't have that male relationship experience, and that's what held me back a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, as I say, I said in the first hour, it's a joke in Liverpool. What would you like for Christmas? A father, because there was so many of them missing. They were either in prison in certain of the depressed areas, was like the blacks in America, where there's a high percentage of them in the prison population. The same applies in Liverpool with the males, because they had to break the rebellious family nature down of Liverpool the city, and so fathers were not only in prison for various things. People can have poor opinions of people who end up in prison, but until you've been in that position and walked in those shoes, you don't know where that person's come from. And a lot of people were done for shoplifting because they didn't have enough, because the benefits, or the social security as they call it in America, was insufficient even then. And you're talking about, long before all the technology gadgets have come in, and the video machines as it was then, CDs and on into iPads and all the other stuff that we now have to pay for that we didn't then. People just had nothing, and so if you're going to feed your children, then you're going to end up going shoplifting, and and subsequently end up in prison. Again, it's part of the agenda to split the family, and then there's no jobs in Liverpool, so dad goes to London again. There's the family role model gone. And this was so prevalent in Liverpool in the 60s, 70s and 80s, where the father was always missing. And then of course you had the drinking culture, which largely comes from the Irish. I know they won't thank me for that, but it is more of an Irish thing. It's a drinking culture, and so any money they did have was largely spent on alcohol.
You know, Thomas, when I was young, I remember one of the first bits of advice that my father gave to me, and it's an absolute whopper. His first advice to me was, head down, arse up. That's what he told me. He said to me, head down, arse up, and in effect what he was saying to me was, get your head down and stick your arse up, and let whatever be done to you. That's basically what it was. To get on in life, you need to get your head down and you need to stick your arse up. And I learned quite early in life that, I weren't going to listen to what he told me. He was telling me that when I was like 8, head down, arse up. I thought, nah, that's, what are you talking about? I remember that quite young, so I switched off. I just switched off to him straight away when I was a kid. I didn't have that male influence, that father influence that every especially young man needs, especially if he's expected to be the head of the family, the way it was then generationally. Yeah. He could have told me a little bit better than that. He could have taught me a little bit better than that, but he didn't. It was head down, arse up. And the other one was, you're too deep. I mean, you don't tell your son he's too deep. If I thought my son was deep, I'd be absolutely.
In essence, that's admitting his own failures, because basically you've shut down. And this is the problem of the alternative media, and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing these type of shows, is people can come and talk about what happened to them. It's releasing the baggage, because we've zipped our mouths for far too long, and we need to be heard.
Yeah, that's why I'm on here tonight.
We need to be heard.
Well, but I've got a message.
You're coming across as you, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all I want to do.
That's all that matters to anything. And so you then kind of. I've noticed you don't mention your grandfather too much, which again is perhaps indicative of the follow-on of where your dad probably followed in the same footsteps as the grandfather. And then your nan was a big part of your life, as I understand.
Yeah, she was, Thomas.
And then she passed, which you kind of saw ahead of time, and you were with being so close to her, and that must have had a rather, again, another large impact on you.
It did, Thomas. When I was as far back as I can remember, she was the one that I'd say was my spiritual guide. She was the one that was the closest to me, my mother's mother. Her name was Elsie. She was a fantastic woman, absolutely fantastic woman. I've only got good memories of her, special memories. She was just such a special person. When you've got that person in your life that makes everything okay, she was the one. And I loved her so much. And when she passed away, it was a strange thing, because before she passed, she had 15, 16 grandchildren, and she always used to tell me that when I was on my own, I was a favourite. I always thought that she'd say that to everybody, but my mother said no, I was a favourite. And we used to be able to actually talk telepathically without talking to each other, which was my first experiences of being able to communicate with somebody without talking. And me and my nan used to do that. We used to do that a lot. Yeah, she was my spiritual guide. And before she died, she had an experience where she passed away. And when she passed away briefly on the hospital bed, and they brought her back to life. And when she decided to tell me and my mother, I was only 13 years of age then, I always remember it, and she told me that she felt like she was on the top deck of a bus, travelling in rows of people, going towards a great white light. But my grandfather, who'd been abusive to her, actually, and all his children, as they were growing up, my mother being one of them, wasn't well at the time, so she decided to come back and look after him, and she didn't. It wasn't her time. She told us. So he brought her back around on the hospital bed, and she come back to life, and she told us all about it. And that was the first real experience that confirmed that there was more to actually what the normal was. Yeah. So I started to realise at that point that all my experiences in the past, well, you were right. I wasn't dreaming it. I wasn't crazy, and she confirmed it for me. Especially having the telepathic communication with her as well, which obviously meant a lot to me. But before she actually did pass, I remember coming home from school one day and there was nobody home, and I let myself in with the key, and I came into the house, and as I opened the front door, the landline rang, and before it rang, I knew, and she wasn't ill at that time, she'd got better. I just knew that what I was going to be told was that she was going to pass. So I answered the phone, and my mother said, "Are you okay, son?" I said, "Yeah." "I'm okay, Mum, you okay?" She said, "Yeah." "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just going home from school." And she said, "I've got something to tell you." And I said, "I know." I said, "My grandmum's passed, hasn't she?" She said, "Yeah." She asked, "So how did you know that?" I said, "I just did."
Yep.
Yeah, and I knew it, Thomas. But before she even made the phone call, I felt the sinking feeling in my stomach, and I felt like I had a loss, and I knew it. Yeah. So that was one of the main experiences from young that validated all of the young experiences, all the paranormal, all of the telepathic experiences that I had, or everything. That was the one that sparked me at that age of 13. I knew that day that there was something more to it, and that's when I started to really explore.
Yeah. So, Mum started drinking. Was that because of Nan passing, or just in general?
Yeah. Well, my mother was obviously. I always see my mother and her mother, my grandma, as being like kindred spirits. My mother looks like her. She's very like her. She's a very spiritual person. And I always coupled the two together. They were always the two guardian angels that I saw in my life. And so when that happened, that was when my mother really started to fall apart. Basically, she started to get really ill, started to drink. Obviously, my father being away, she wasn't handling the situation. She was also working in a liquor store as a part-time job to try and sustain the family. And I could see the way she was starting to deteriorate. And from then on, I went through a really dark period in my life. Yeah. Obviously, watching the main person in my life, who I saw as a rock, deteriorate. That again, looking back on it now, it was just more ways of them trying to mess with me and trying to stop me from where I was going.
Yeah, it's like a plethora of attacks trying to divert you off your path.
Yeah.
And and sometimes out of adversity, people can learn a lot more than if everything goes hunky-dory, as we say back in England.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so again, it's a case now of having to go within again, and dealing with the pain and dealing with the trauma and the loss and the disconnect. There's obviously, you had you mentioned the telepathic connection, but you had an energetic connection, which suggests it may be part of a larger soul family group.
Yeah.
And the rest around you are just there to muddy the waters, so to speak.
Yeah.
And this definitely is what people are finding out now. There's certain soul groups, and there's a lot mentioned about soulmates and all that, and everyone thinks they've got the soulmate. The reality is it's few and far between. There are people that resonate on a soul level at a given point in your life. Once you've opened the next door of your evolutionary scale, not everyone walks through it. It may just be you. It may just be her.
Yeah.
And so people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. The reality is now there's very few are here for a lifetime. its reason and a season, because things have changed, things have sped up, and things are not normal anymore. They were never normal to begin with. And this is some of the things maybe we'll cover later in the show. But you started, you mentioned about having some out-of-body experiences. At what age did that start, and how frequent was it?
Well, it was going back from the story a little bit. I was probably about 10, 11, and I remember coming in from playing with my friends outside. Again, I was left to just roam, so I felt free at the time. Obviously, looking back, it was good for me, because that's what I needed in them days. I needed to be free. I needed to run the streets and go and find myself. So I remember coming in one day and sitting down in the living room and sitting down on the settee, and there was TV on, and sitting down, and I used to always sit on the floor with my back against the settee. I never used to like sitting on the settee. So I used to sit down on the floor with my back on the settee, and this one day I was just sat there, and all of a sudden I saw this little white dot of light just peeking away at me in my vision. So I closed my eyes and I was looking at it, and it got closer and closer and closer, and I could feel a resonance. I could feel a vibration going through my body, and I was just sitting there just experiencing it. And then all of a sudden it got closer and closer and closer, and then it opened up into a great white ball of light that I entered. And when I entered it, all I can remember is losing myself and floating above me body, looking down upon myself and laughing. And I was in fits of laughter. I was really laughing hard, where I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't focus. I was just laughing really hard. And looking down at my body, I could see my little sisters and my brother. He was a baby, looking round at them, and my mother and father. And then all of a sudden, zap, I was back. And then it took me a couple of years thinking about it, and I was thinking, what was that? And then all of a sudden, I realised one day that it was just me being me. And I realised that it wasn't the best way I can explain it. I wasn't going anywhere. I was just staying, and I didn't want to be anybody else. And I knew that all I wanted to do was stay and be the same person that I was in that feeling when I knew who I was again. And I've always held on to that ever since that day. That was the one thing that made me realise that it's an illusion. It's not what you see through your eyes. It's who you are.
Yeah.
I was just sat there watching TV at 10, 11 years of age, and then bang, I was reminded that I was something else. And that's the best way I can describe it. I was something else. I wasn't who I was, who I thought I was.
Yeah. Basically, it was a reminder for you that you're not on the right path. And so you've been shown the real version of you. Because the outer body, the real part of it, is not the one sitting on the floor.
No, that's just the vessel.
People think, that the real is the one sitting on the floor watching. So the real version of you is the one floating above. And that's a lot to take in. But these things are sent at certain times with certain reminders that might have a benefit for the then or the near future or a later event, where you can refer back and go, well, you know what, that's the real me. Yeah. Once you learn to comprehend and understand what is so-called reality.
Well, it was so powerful and natural, Thomas, that it was unavoidable, and you'll never forget that. It was a reminder. It was like a big smack around the head, and it was, this is you. This is the lesson you need to know right now. and you're going to carry that on through your life. You know, you need to know this right now, and don't forget it. And that was the message I got. Don't forget. Just remember this.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
That's one of the things I say in that piece at the end of the show. Remember who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just so hard. This life, or this existence, I wouldn't say it's a life. This existence has been an extraordinary test, and you can call it the grand experiment. I call it mind effery, to be quite honest, because everything's inverted. The whole thing is inverted. The way we see things is inverted, where we are encouraged, well, not encouraged, we're corralled into thinking everything is outside of us. So we look up to parents, which is good in some aspects, but forgetting that each creation is their own individual in their own right, and parents don't have a right to dictate that child's life. If that child chooses not to be that, follow the pattern. And schools are not authority. They never were. They're there to teach people to gain better knowledge, to then develop better than them, not less than them. This is why humanity has fallen back, because we've taught stupid, and stupid talks teaches stupid, and on it goes. And then the police, another authority that's come in that people are in fear of. They're not there to rule and be an authority over you. They're there to observe the laws of the land. Yeah. Period. They're not an authority. And then you've got the church, the ultimate in outside of the self, the ultimate in taking you away from the spiritual version of you, where if you have a paranormal experience, you're dealing with the devil, you're dealing with demons. No, the people telling you that are the devil and are demons. And whether people like that idea or not, it is when you find out the real truth behind religion, who created it and why, then you will understand what I've just said. It's the biggest issue on this planet, bar none. And if people want to know why we haven't had ET disclosure, there's your answer. Because the whole deck of cards to do with religion, and I don't care which religion it is, all of them collapse overnight on the introduction of the truth about humans not being alone. We never have been. And this is on such goes, you can go on forever with this, but this disconnect again. It's another disconnect. This is the theme of this show, is the numbers of disconnects, where everything's outside of you when everything is actually, if you turn it the other way, is inside of you.
Yeah.
And once people realise that and invert it, this whole illusion collapses.
Yeah.
It just falls in on itself, because you are not putting your belief in it. The only thing, in essence, we're already inorganic. Other people will argue different, and that's fine. We're inorganic. It's already here. The changes have already taken place on a frequency level and a planetary level, but we're still holding on to the external reality. And all it does is the chains, which I witnessed in a vision recently, is people on an individual level have to snap the chains. It doesn't require violence, it doesn't require shooting and war, it just requires you going within. Thoughts?
Fantastic expectations, amazing revelations. Thomas, when I listen to you, mate, honest to God, that's why I've always listened to you, because you just speak from the heart, Thomas, and there's no one else on the alternative media that speaks through the heart space, actually uses the heart space as a genuine individual and speaks through it. I don't know anyone else that does it, Thomas, and that's why I've been here listening to you, because you're a genuine guy. I don't think people realise, I really don't think people realise what you're doing. You've got BSs out there, 99% of them talking absolute waffle, and you've got people falling for it, posting all this malarkey. They need to get where it's at and start listening to the real truth.
Yeah, it's not an easy journey, because it's breaking down the programming. We had this. I'm not particularly picking on Drake, but we had this. It's this cognitive dissonance where even if you take the ET side out of it, which splits many people because people are frightened of truth, and that's the reality. Too many are frightened of the truth. That's why too many won't deal with their own shadow sides, because they don't like the truth of themselves. And we were talking about, I'd made myself quite clear about Trump. Can Trump make changes? Yes, on a small scale, but only if the above control system is collapsed first. So it doesn't really make any difference whether Trump is good, bad or indifferent. And Drake's telling people, on the one hand, because it's habit, and this is the habits we have to break down, and what we're trying to do, it's breaking down. Just because you haven't been a super soldier, and the likes of the Corey Goods and the Shanes being in the Illuminati programs, doesn't mean to say you haven't been programmed, because you have, by the TV and by school. And so we're breaking down the programs. So Drake's telling us, and I was telling the members, we don't have an American government. It's USA Inc. And then Drake knows that, and then tells people to vote for Trump. Why? Not because Drake's stupid, because he's far from it. Because it's habit.
Yeah.
It's what we've always done. When the solution is the whole country decides we're not voting, and everything changes overnight, because then they realise the people know.
Yeah.
But it's wasting me vote, Thomas. No, you're wasting your vote, and you're wasting your energy, and you're wasting your intelligence by voting for the same bullshittery over and over again, because it's the programme. Well, it's election day, or selection day, let's get it right, because it's already decided. I already decided long before anyone puts a tick on a box. It's selection day. We have to go and vote like sheep, and we all line up, and we all go in our little booths, and we all tick a little box. Sound familiar? Because it needs to be, because it's robotic behaviour. And the same applies with the supermarkets. We all line up. No. That's why a lot of people who are nature-based, like the farmers' market, because it's not structured. Things are everywhere, and you can pick and choose what they like. It's stepping out of the programme. And breaking down the programs is the difficult part, and then of course we're laden with the cabal in the alternative media, and that, to me, I find that abhorrent, is that they couldn't even leave one small avenue open for people to wake up. No, they had to crush it and send a load of clowns with scripts of total bullshittery. And it's one thing making money, it's another thing when you're steering people into a harvesting style agenda, and that bothers me more than anything, because there's darker elements within the liars and the cheats and the plagiarizers. There's darker elements that are collecting information to expose certain people so they become a target, or they're then rolled into these ritual programs. And it kind of shocked me. I knew there was elements in it, I didn't realise it was that deep or that connected. In other words, it's another cabal control system in the alternative media. And the biggest problem is the New Age group. Let's all play love and light. Well, when you realise that New Age program came from Blavatsky in the 1800s, New Age 1.0 it was called. It's not new, it's not from the 60s. Oh no. It was nearer the 1860s than the 1960s. And then it was pushed on by Steiner, Waldorf, and that type of nonsense in those schools, which I'll be exposing in later shows. And Crowley. And on it went. And then, of course, Tavistock came in with the Beatles and all that stuff. And everyone wanted to be love and light and go into the pro, but all it was is they're going to get you into a drug culture, which then takes you off your track again. And again, that will upset some of the listeners. I don't care. It's the truth. There's a government memo that speaks in the 1967-68, where the government was encouraging people to take drugs in America. And they were targeting the New Age group and the hippies, the free thinkers, and also the blacks. It was a deliberate program. And some people, that's also rubbish. Well, go and look for it, because the document is available online. It was a government program to stifle the free thinkers and the blacks, because the blacks will have the ability to rise up, you see, more than the white race. They will rise up and react more than the white race. So that's why they stifled them with the drugs and the crime and the imprisonment. And suddenly it all makes sense, doesn't it? And this is where are we for time? Okay. So you had some very other strange encounters before we go into the next stage of your life, and the next song that you picked, something about injections.
Yeah, Thomas, well, that was one of my earlier experiences, actually. That was when I was about, I was young. I was about 5, 6, really young. When you get injected at school, I was just got back from Germany, and I remember getting took into the gym hall in school, and I've confirmed this with me mother since as well, and she was she was a little bit disturbed actually when I asked her about it, because I think she'd forgot about it. She thought I forgot about it because I was so young. And basically, I got took into the gym hall, and when I walked into the gym hall, there was 3 supposed teachers lined up on the table in the middle of the empty gym hall, giving out the injections that we were to get. And I remember looking around the doorway, and when I looked at them, they weren't teachers. And I remember looking at my mum in a bit of a weird way, and she just brushed me off and took me. And as I walked towards them, there were 3 tall lizards. Thomas stood there behind the table, ready to give me an injection. And I always remember distinctly, it was a massive gym hall, and up one side there was stacked chairs and tables, where they moved all the chairs and tables to one side. So when I got took down to them, and I got faced with them. They were 3 tall lizards, and I freaked out and ran. And I hid in between all the tables and chairs on the other side of the room, and was screaming, the monsters, don't let them get me, don't let them get me, to my mum. And being quite spiritually close to my mum, I think she, looking back, I think she sort of must have realised that, you know, I wasn't just like a freaky kid. I was seeing something, and she took me out of school, basically, again, to another experience that I'd had, and she's confirmed it since. And basically, growing up, for all them years, looking back on them experiences, it was quite hard, because, you know, you're a normal kid, yeah, and you think, you're trying to get on with being a normal kid, and I think I remember saying it to one friend when I was a young kid, and he looked at me like I was a fruitcake.
Yeah.
So I buried it, and that was it. But yeah, that happened to me, Thomas, and it's, I don't know, Thomas. It's mad. I've done my shadow work on it, but at the same time, I've still got questions, because it's still such a hard experience to sort of get my head around, if you understand what I mean. It's not easy.
No, well, they know, those beings know that since around 1960 onwards, different types of humans have been coming in here to fix the problems. And part of the problems in the 60s, in the first batch, is they ended up with poor parents. It got improved in the 70s, but they know the different ones. Of course, when it got to the improved versions, and more strands of the DNA, and more of the memory children coming in, there's probably the crystal children, as they're called, with a K.
Okay.
Because there's been a distortion of the crystal with a C. I don't want to go into that yet. Maybe I'll go into that later. So they were coming in with extra abilities, more memory, and these kids were going to ruin their project, which they had until 2012 to complete, and so they heavily targeted them.
That's why I like change. The ruiner. That's why I like, because I feel like a bloody ruiner myself. I feel like that's what I've been doing, Thomas.
Yeah. In essence.
Really good.
In essence.
People. But it's hard. You feel old.
Everyone that listens to this show is a ruiner. We've all done it. That's why we're all in this group.
No, but when you feel old, Thomas.
No, that's part of the illusion. So a lot weren't able to see. They might have eyes, but they can't see. There's people who have ears but won't listen. And so the fact that you could see them
a lot,
then triggers alarm bells, which then explains the incidents later on in life and the disconnect. This is the way it's gone on, and most people, or some people who listen to this, who haven't experienced it, kind of will dismiss it and it's off the wall. There's nothing more off the wall than everyday life. You're just not seeing it.
Yeah.
Where people are walking around like zombies. You're talking about people talking about zombie apocalypse. It's already here. They don't even see you. Maybe was they not there? So this is the problem with the children, and each decade there was an improvement in the upgrade of the ones coming in to teach and wake others up that was stuck in the system.
I was 7'7", mate. Is that any significance?
Not necessarily, no.
Oh.
There's a lot of it could be, but then the kids or the children, I have to stop saying that. That's habit from Liverpool. The children from 2000 onwards had even more DNA, even more memory, and even more knowing, because they were the ones that once 2012 ended, from 2013 onwards, before the 4-year loop came in, they were the ones that were going to drive us forward as a species. So then they started labelling ADHD. Now let's be honest, if that awareness of doing that had been in the 70s and the 80s, both of us would have ended up on ADHD and Valium and whatever else they give. Ritalin is a they tried to stem the tide of the different children. They're not special, they're just different, or they're just more of a memory of the you. So I've spoken to parents who have children that are different, and they have to be looked after better, because they can't handle the frequency here. It's caustic to the ones with more DNA.
Yeah.
And this is why they're wild and unruly, because they can't handle the frequencies. They don't know what's happening to them. And so eventually, once they get to teenagers, it's about nursing them through the lower years and the early teens. They will start to attune to the frequency and start to remember why they're here. But the Ritalin knocks the memory out altogether, and this is why all these kids who are different are classed as ADHD. And this is the lengths they will go to stop humanity going forward. Now what's happening now is idiot humanity, and we do have a number of idiots, are learning the truth of what's been going on here. And there's a change in the air. A massive change. Some people will argue it's not being seen on street level, and I would argue it has. You've just forgotten to recognise things.
Yeah.
The alternative media is exciting. It's boring in some aspects because there's too much political, and I've tried to stay away from it, but it keeps people in the news of what's going on, and there's certain parts of it that also show the changes. But everything's different if you see, really see, and listen. Sometimes I'm able to point things out ahead of time, and then it becomes more clearer. But ultimately, it's down to the individual to see. It's always better for the individual to see it for themselves. But now, for those of us who have been researching all these years, there's no conspiracies anymore, or what was classed as conspiracy, but it's all out in the public. Look at the effect. It's 40 years, the 40-year anniversary. Look at the effect Close Encounters had on people. It's all, it's all there. And people changed. That suddenly, oh my God, here's an ET movie, and it's okay to talk about ETs. It's okay to talk about other paranormal events. Of course, mixed in with Close Encounters was the Philadelphia experiment, SS Eldritch, that appeared somewhere else. There's so many aspects, and it also plays into the tribal aspect, where they're all pointing to the stars and singing that chant. That is the original Earth people, human people, that signed the deal with the Draco. That's why they were singing. They wanted them to come back. Well, they never left. They just became masked, cloaked, and that freaks a lot of people out. But every morning you look in the mirror and you think you're seeing you. No, you're not. You're seeing you inverted, because left is right and right is left. Even something as simple as that. Yeah. And it's a massive test. But they knew that one or two out of the school would see them, and they wait for the reaction. And because you're so young, you overreacted, which was correct, and ran away. But in essence, that then confirms that you were different. And part of the problem as being young is being different in a way where you think that everyone sees it, and then the reality dawns on you that you're the only one, or maybe you might get lucky and there's another one there.
Yep.
So you had before we go into a music break again, visited by some female entities, and things got a bit raucous, shall we say.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the next level. That was when I was about 13, and then I was in a dream state, and I was visited by two female entities with blonde hair, stunning, and basically they took advantage of me. Let's just say it that way. So that, and I've always felt like that was a big turning point in my life at that age, because I started being took in by females, and what I was doing was I was going out, I was partying, I was taking drugs, I was getting involved in stupid relationships with people, like friends, bad people, and it was basically down to the female aspect. And I always put it down to that one dream that I had, that one visitation that I had. It was as if they basically exploited me and opened me up to a way that I shouldn't have been going down, and it took me off track for probably about 20 years, Thomas. I was, obviously most men would say, oh yeah, going with a beautiful woman and all this business would be, that's what you should be doing, but looking back on it now, it was a massive distraction.
It wasn't right.
It was part of it. It was another way of just getting you, and that's the way I see it.
I'm going to say something to you now, it'll probably rock you.
Well,
have you not connected the two together with the German?
No.
Maybe you should.
Go on.
Well, it's the Vril group with the blondes.
Yeah. They were stunning.
They
had pale white skin, Thomas. And piercing eyes.
These are the Vril girls that were dealing with the Germans.
There was two of them. I was in a bright white room, and I was a young kid, and basically they took advantage of me. And I remember not feeling right. Actually, I must have been that young. I think I was about 12, 13. you know, I was a young kid, and I remember it, and yeah, and from then on, I was like a sexual young man, and I think a lot of young men can probably relate to that. Something it might trigger a lot, you know,
Yeah,
but what happened.
that gets you into the hooks then, doesn't it? Where you've had an experience that's out of this world, literally, and then suddenly maybe the girls that you in everyday life don't match up to their beauty, and then it becomes an issue again.
Well, I actually played with a few girls' arts for quite a long time, if you know what I mean. You know, it was like a game, and that wasn't me, if you know what I mean. I felt like I was doing something that wasn't me.
That's something.
That makes sense.
That's something you are going to have to meditate on. You may find that experience ties in with German experience.
Yeah, I guess. Makes sense.
Right, we're going to give you some time to ponder that, and we're going to go into your next song, which is by the Foo Fighters, and Learning to Fly. Bye for now. Hi all, and welcome back to An Evening with Thomas, and our guest tonight is John Bryan, and he's been telling us his lives and struggles of living in Liverpool, and some of the paranormal experiences and the mental blocks and the fun and games basically shutting down. And so we're getting into a time now that you've gone through your teenage years and you're into your 20s, and you decided to up sticks and go right away across the other side of the world. Maybe you got a spade out and dug under Britain and went all the way to Australia. You went down under.
Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, that was a time in my life when I felt like I just needed to get away from everything and go and find myself again. I'd been going through relationships with a couple of different girls and had bad experiences. So yeah, I decided to go and find myself over in Australia, and off I went. I was working and said, right, okay, I've got the work to give me a year, and said that if I went back after a year, they'd give me my job back. So off I went and just jobbed off to Australia on my own, just to find myself.
So you, whilst you were there, you met a good friend who understood you and understood life, perhaps.
Well, yeah, I met a pal called Aidan Holmes. He's on the members on the THI, and he's a totally cool lad. He was someone that I met, and as soon as we started talking about deep stuff, you know, when you realise that you're on the same part as someone. I was at a stage in my life then when I was just starting to realise that everything was BS. I knew certain things, but yeah, when we got talking, it was just when we made that connection where we started understanding each other, and he led me into getting into realising that everything was reversed. So yeah, he was one of the big catalysts that basically got me into, you know, realising everything was what it was.
Back onto a path. Well,
it's
like I mentioned earlier, people come into your life for a reason or a season or a lifetime. Sadly, the lifetime is few and far between now, because the way things are developing. But it's kind of ironic that you have to go 8,000-9,000 miles and meet someone who
from the same city as you. He's a Scouser.
Who finds you, allows you to find you, and you know, and we've all experienced this where we've met people in some strange environments, and suddenly there's that click, and everything pours out. And so imagine the first conversation went on for hours, and you lost the sense of time, because suddenly he gave you the platform to find you and open you out, which has been in this meat suit, all contained, all built up anger and frustration and negativity, and suddenly here's some, I'm not nuts, here's somebody else who knows that this is not right, and it's it's a rare event, although it is increasing. It was probably, as you know, it was a lot rarer then. When at this time scale, people will say that I feel alone now. You ought to try believing in ETs and all kinds of other stuff back in the 70s and early 80s. There was very few around, we didn't have the benefit of the internet then, where we could meet like-minded. And that's kind of where the internet backfired on them. They were using it as an AI control system, but we used it for a different purpose.
Yeah, well, it was around that time when I got the internet. I think it was shortly after, a few years after that, around 2007, Thomas. And I remember the day I got the internet. I was quite late, actually. I'm not a techie at all. I still struggle with Facebook, to be honest with you. I don't go on anything else, I wouldn't know how to work Twitter, nothing. I just go on Facebook and blah, blah. Anyway, I remember getting it in 2007, and I remember the day I sat down, and it felt like the whole world had opened up to me, and it was the day I realised that I decided that I was going to actually do it. I was going to get on with business. I knew all the things what I knew. Yeah. I had all the beliefs. I knew everything, Thomas, even going back to when I was 18 years of age. I knew everything, and it was all there. I just couldn't really place it. I couldn't put the jigsaw together, but I had all the pieces. I'd spotted them from 2. Thomas, that's my life. You know what I mean? That's just the way I've been. But I remember the day sitting down and saying, right, now I can put it all together, and I can make light of it. I can say, okay, that's right. I knew it was right anyway, but I just wanted to be able to say. Yeah,
we always want that extra confirm.
That's always been my feelings, Thomas. Like I say, I've known it since I was basically a kid. All the deep beliefs, they were all confirmed over experiences from when I was younger, but I needed to confirm it. So when that 2007 day came, and I sat down and I put the internet on and I started searching, it just all the alarm bells, all the receptors, all the frequencies and everything just started to buzz in me, and that was me. I was aware. I knew then. And obviously, you don't look back then, do you? You're down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Came on.
Which one?
I don't know. I've been I'm lost.
I want to chime in here because you mentioned you knew it, and that is correct. And some people will perceive that as arrogance. It's not. That's the way society has dictated, where people have a bundle of knowledge. They're called know-it-alls and this and that. Well, they took the time to at least have a chance to know it all. You can never know everything.
Thomas, I've been called that ever since I was about 7 years of age. A little Billy no. But you know what? That's because I've just fronted it and I've just said it how I felt it. And if that didn't go with people and at that time, but I'm sure I've got an experience that they have afterwards.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean, and when I see people afterwards, they might acknowledge it sometimes. And I don't do it. I don't do it for other people. I just say what I feel from the heart, and I tend to be right, like yourself.
Yeah. The most important thing out of what you just said, which is a pointer to the listeners of this show and the Thursday shows, is I was waiting for a confirm. Now, the reason people are waiting for others to confirm is because they don't trust themselves. Once you gain a trust of yourself, you don't need other people to confirm what you've already seen, done or experienced. You just don't. I remember, I've said this before, and it's important to say it again. I was helping a particularly disturbed individual in Cosmic Voice with some of the ET stuff. And I gave him a lot of knowledge and a lot of help. And then on the following Thursday, he's telling me about meeting this ET, and he's had this experience, and he saw these craft and this. And then on Thursday, that same person says to me, when are we getting ET disclosure? You've already had it. Because if you've had these type of experiences, why are you waiting for me, or heaven forbid Wilcock, or Obama, or Trump, or Putin, or anybody else to tell you what you already know? And it's important that everyone that listens to this show is they have to learn to trust their inner knowing. Not follow me and my truth. Although people will find over time that a lot of what's been said in CHI is correct. I don't expect all of it to be correct, but there's certain guidelines that have been pushed forward that have helped people. But the most important thing is, don't be waiting for confirmations. If you're looking for confirmations from other people, whoever that may be, you haven't learned to trust yourself. And this is one of the biggest problems in society, is we're not truthful to ourselves because of the masks of illusion. We pass ourselves off as being confident and brash and you know, I'm the big I am, when in reality, behind the scenes, they're shy and withdrawn and introverted. That's a mask of illusion. Now, they're coming down, as you know, and it's not going to be pleasant, because people have lied to themselves for far too long, and people have not trusted themselves for far too long. Their inner knowing and intuition, the little voices in the head, no, you're not schizophrenic. That's you, the higher version of you, giving you pointers. This is what's going to take place. This is what you need to, where you need to go, or where you need to be. Listen to it. And I think as your story develops, from that period where Aidan helped you, because it gave you a confirmation, it helped you at a later portion of life to know that you already knew that. It was just you learning to trust you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how it was. That's how I felt. Yeah. When he told me that, it was. Well, also he gave me a lot of links. So the first started looking at links. He gave me, I think the first one I looked at was maybe Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
To be honest, you know, one of them, where it was like, it started off showing you about religion and how it was all related to the sun and the astronomy and everything. And that was the one that first, I knew all that was true anyway.
Yeah.
But that was the one that put it all together for me at that time. And then from then on, I went heavily into it. When I got the internet, I started to really look deep into every single subject that you can possibly, you know, look at. Everything. And I brushed across. But so what I like to think I've done is add a good, balanced look at every single aspect. I haven't just pigeonholed myself to, you know, flat earth like some people do, or you get distracted. I've bounced across everything like yourself, and took in enough of everything to give me a nice rounded aspect, you know, and a nice open jigsaw puzzle of what's going on. Some people just seem to stop halfway and go, yeah, I've got it sorted, that's me, I know everything that's going on, and they don't go any further. You know, they'll stop halfway, and they'll have a halfway opinion.
Yeah. So we're going to go shortly into another one of your songs you selected, but I want to complete your 20 to 30, and you've met Aidan in backpacking in Australia,
and you got some good feelings back. But then you ran into more blocks in your path, and ex-girlfriends and a daughter, and heavy attacks and bad luck, and you kind of hit rock bottom.
Yeah,
We'll perhaps cover that before we have the music break, and then we'll go into the final portion of your story.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's when I come back from Australia, and I was feeling really good. I felt like I'd stood back, I'd got myself together a bit, started to really, look deep into myself, started to question things, come back, and then without realising it, I met a girl, and I think I was looking for some sort of stability, which I'd never had, and family as well. I think I was always craving family, looking back. So I met her, and it was okay at first, and she told me quite early on that she'd had an 18-month-old daughter, which I was fine with, and loving kids as much as I do. I think I had this romantic notion that I was going to have this happy family. So we started dating, and everything seemed to be great, and I got introduced to the little girl and fell in love with her, and we ended up having a 4-year relationship, which turned out to be, after a couple of years, I should have followed my heart, because I started having night terrors again. I was having really bad emotional problems. I was having bad luck surrounding me, and at the time, that was when I was starting to pick up on, looking deeper into things. I should have known better, but basically it got really heavy, and looking back, that was one of the major attacks on me, because, cut a long story short, we didn't work out. It got really heavy. She was starting to get violent with me, so I walked away from the relationship, but I was prepared to keep on seeing the little girl who I'd built a big relationship up with, because the mother, when she found out she was pregnant with the little girl, the father had just done a runner. That's what I was told. So I took over the mantle, and I was going to be the father of the child. So after 4 years, the little girl, she basically took to me, and we were like really close. And then when I chose to split with the mother because of the way she was, she basically then decided to say, well, look, if you're not going to be with me, you're not going to see the little girl no more, and stop the whole thing. So everything got heavy, and I ended up losing quite a bit financially through it. We were living in a house that we'd mortgaged. I walked away from the whole situation just basically to keep my head held high. Lost out financially, and went back to live with my mother, who was then starting to become an alcoholic. So that basically got worse. But yeah, that was the gist of that story. So basically that was like, I hit rock bottom then, because I felt like I'd lost a child, because I basically emotionally took it on. It's almost that's how it felt, It was, and yeah, it got really, really heavy then. That got really low. Yeah, my lowest point actually ever. Yeah, it was rough.
To replay your life, you looked to the female for comfort.
Yeah.
Because the father model wasn't there. You haven't mentioned any uncles or anything else, so there's no real. You haven't got an older brother. The father's gone. The grandfather hasn't been mentioned. So you had your connection with your nan. You lost your nan. Your mother lost her way. Then you've gone with a couple of females that have also lost their way, and so again, it's this. There's nothing left, and you go under, which is again what they want, or you stick your chest out and go, F you to the world, I'm going to make my own way. And the final part will show how John made his own way. So we're going to play another one of John's choices for music, and it's hi all, and welcome back to An Evening with Thomas and guest John Bryan. Apologies for the sound. It is a problem when we have this platform of guests coming on. It goes via the Skype, and my mic is on 100% and the guest is 50%, and yet there's that imbalance, so I can't hide it anymore. And I can't get any closer than a mic, otherwise people might hear me gulping.
All right, so we're in near the end of John's story and John's life, where basically he's now gone from seeing the crescent to the whole of the moon, to use the words of the last song. And you got the internet and the started a discovery of confirmation of thoughts, which we kind of covered. And then you kind of went through a whole heap of different sites and learned as much as you can, and then found Cosmic Voice.
Yeah, that was an amazing time. Then obviously I'd met Laura by then, and everything started to settle for me. I really started to get my life together. And then when I started to really dig deep, and I came across, I can't remember how it was. I think I was listening to something to do with a David Wilcock thing, and I got skipped across to one, and it was Drake and David Wilcock.
Yeah.
On that infamous interview, and then that was it. And then when I heard your voice, I heard the Scouse accent come in the middle of it, which I wasn't expecting one bit. Like, you've got David Wilcock and Drake talking, and then the Scouser chimes on the next. I'd got into them, and so the next, obviously, I got into I think it was just the end of Universal Voice, the beginning of Cosmic Voice, and then I heard your voice, Thomas, and then I don't know, something just went off in me. There was a familiarity, and I just knew when I first heard it, and I thought, this is a bit interesting.
Yeah, a Scouser on the radio.
Exactly. Talking deep. I wasn't expecting it. It was like having an uncle that a deep uncle that you'd knew from years ago that had brought you up, telling you all kinds of interesting stuff, and then he pissed off for 20 years, and then he come back. All of a sudden was like, right, okay, and here's the good stuff. That's how it felt when I first heard.
It's I still speak quiet, as I get reminded at different shows. I've always been a quiet speaker. I've always been a deep thinker. It's part of my being introverted, because I've been shut down most of my life. I came to America, obviously with the Scouse accent and how quickly we speak when we get into a flow. Americans are just not going to understand it. And so I had a speech problem when I was in England, because the first thing that people used to say to me was "what?" Because they didn't hear I wasn't talking loudly enough. But I've always had good hearing, really good hearing. So I think I'm talking loud when I'm actually talking very quiet. And so people didn't really hear me. And this has been a common theme through my life. They didn't listen. If they took the time to listen, then they would hear. And so when Cosmic Voice came along after the bloodbath of Universal Voice, that's a show in itself. Some of the fun and games in July of 2013, which was a difficult time for me, because that was kind of when my 32-year marriage was literally falling apart. And ultimately it did, just after I became radio show host at Cosmic Voice. And I was kind of pushed forward by Sunfire, who I know as Tanner, to do it. And I go, no one's going to understand me. But I had made sufficient leaps. When the few times that I'd been back to Liverpool, they all thought I was talking posh. But you have to change the voice when you come to America, because we start high and then go low, so it trails off. So when we're speaking, we're listening for the front part, so we understand. Whereas in America, they start low and then go high, and so they're listening for the end. Well, if I'm starting high and going low, they're not understanding me.
You're talking in reverse.
Yeah, and so I worked this out, and so I became very pronounced in what I was saying. And I never dreamt that somebody with a speech issue, who talked too softly, who mumbled, would suddenly develop into a radio show host, and I was reluctant to do it, but Sunfire and Chloe, who was not my girlfriend at the time, pushed me into it. And I thought, well, we'll see how it goes, and I was as nervous as hell. And the first 1.5 shows, I struggled. People couldn't hear me because there was interference with the show, for one thing, which has been a common aspect since I've become a radio show host. As people know from the Thursday shows, they like to muck around when you say some things that they really don't want you to get out. One day people will realise our show has put out a lot more than people realise. And so that's how it developed. So I just never dreamt for 1 minute I would end up a radio show host with an unfamiliar accent, with a former speech issue. Largely, I've surprised myself, but this is the way things come along, and Cosmic Voice was a good ground in many aspects for us all, including myself. The time, although it was a difficult time in May last year, the rejection, the lack of loyalty, and the lack of recognition for the people who ran, the real people who ran Cosmic Voice, which was not Drake. It was myself and the admins. And to throw all that away on the words of a couple of rogues, I found particularly distasteful. But in essence, it was going that way. I knew it was coming. And I always said that if it was meant to be that I would have my own radio show, it will take place. If it's not, it won't. It was meant to be. And so, in essence, whilst I don't have much time for Neil Keenan and his antics, in essence, he did me a massive favour. And that's not a slight on Drake, but the problem with Cosmic Voice, it become too fractious. There was all kinds of things going on in the background that most people are not aware of. And there was a conflict of the way the show was going, where Drake could say one thing, like I mentioned the Trump thing. I'm telling people not to vote because we haven't got an American government, and we haven't had an American government since 1871, and we haven't had a constitution since then, and everyone talks about this constitution, but no one who's alive today has lived under the real American constitution. And that sort of disconnect, plus the fact I knew a whole heap about Neil Keenan that I couldn't release at the time, because at the end of the day it comes down to popularity, and Neil Keenan was popular. He was promising all kinds of things, prosperity packages and all the other stuff, the bells and whistles, and I wasn't promising anything. I was just promising to tell the truth. And so I had to wait, but Cosmic Voice was a good ground of it as all. So you mentioned you'd made huge leaps in all aspects joining that group. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, well, obviously at that time, so I was just down to delve into the realities of life, that waking up to the deceit, and then when I started looking a bit more into myself, I was thinking about started looking into meditation and doing like practices, like little silly ones like Ho'oponopono, for instance. I was doing that, And then I started doing meditations and getting really, starting to get into myself and then reconnecting with myself. And then that's when I started to really, doing the deep work. Then that's when I started to realise, getting harmonious with things and, being honest with myself and doing the inner work, doing the shadow work, centering, grounding, all that type of stuff. That was when that really started to kick in my life then. And once I started doing that, I'd met Laura, who I love dearly. She's beautiful, and then everything just started to flow in our lives. Then everything just started to go really good. I felt like I started doing all, trauma release work. I was doing, basically I started off getting a little bit of Reiki, which I don't really agree with now, Thomas, to be honest. I think you should do it yourself, but at the time it helped, and I had a few good experiences with things like that in the earlier days, and then I started to release traumas, just mild ones basically on the surface, before I got really deep. But they helped because they started to prove to me that, if you do little bits of work on yourself, you can start to just release negative energy, trauma, things that have happened to you in the past. And that's what I started to do, yeah. And obviously I started to realise then on a deeper level that, you could start to really help yourself by just relinquishing.
Well, this is in essence, is the disconnect of what took place in Cosmic Voice. Is because you had one person on the show talking about everything being external, and another one talking about everything being internal. And sometimes it's easier to accept the external help rather than deal with the internal help, and that was another of the fractious points that came up in Cosmic Voice. Drake was talking about external things, Nasara and mass arrests and all this.
Yeah.
And that's all very valid. It's not. I'm not slighting Drake. It's all very valid. But how can you have mass arrests and give all kinds of prosperity packages out to people who are not standing in their own truth?
That's it.
It would lead to chaos, because I've mentioned this on recent shows where the cabal failed when the top layers of the control structure collapsed. The cabal have failed to fill in the gaps, the void. Now we can go and do a whole heap of mass arrests tomorrow, but have we got the people to fill in their void? Yeah. And this is the problem. Are there sufficient people based on heart and spiritual who are not militaristic and not seduced by finance or fame, or and we have to step into the void. If you don't like the way the government's running, why don't you become a senator? And this is where the alternative community, because of the negative influence and the cabal players, where we've kind of lost the way. Instead of being solution based, it's been drama based, and that's external, where the solution is internal. When we have all the solutions, they're all inside all of us. It's like the $1 thing. It doesn't matter what level you're at, you can afford $1 a month or $1 a week. It's just about whether you are prepared to sacrifice. And yet people won't take up that opportunity to fix it for themselves. There's always this external aspect of, we're waiting for the government to fix it, or we're waiting for the church to fix it, or the ETs are going to come down and fix it for us and give us all health machines, and they're going to bring all kinds of higher dimensional money and give us $5 billion each.
Don't know, laddie. That's extreme. You know what I mean?
You know?
No one's going to do nothing like that for us. At the end of the day,
No, they can't.
we've all got to take our own power back. We've all got to start standing on our own 2 feet and saying, right, arms around each other. Let's sort this shit out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's do this now. Let's not mess around anymore. It's adult stuff. Let's all get together and sort it out.
Yeah.
We all know enough. Let's not mess around anymore.
No.
And that's where I am now, you know, especially with what's happened to me recently, Thomas. You know, I'm not in the place no more where I'm not messing around anymore. I've done all the exterior work. I've listened to all and sundry, and I've put. They say, I heard once that to be a professional, to be a top professional, you've got to put 10,000 hours in to be like a top sportsman. Well, I've put well more than 10,000 hours into this, keeper, and I know what I'm talking about now, Thomas.
Yeah.
Not as much as you, but I know enough, and I'm not messing around anymore. You know, I want it. I want this now. I want to end this now.
Yeah.
You know,
and this is the drive that pushes us all forward.
The exterior, Thomas. I've done it. You know, and it was you that taught me to go inside. You know, it's you that led me onto that path, and I can't thank you enough for it. You know, that's where it all belongs. That's where all the answers are.
Yeah.
Not outside. You need to know it, because that's school. Yeah. That's, you know, I've always said, I never went to school, Thomas. I went to the University of Life. That's what I did. I went out and I learned from life. Yeah. You know, and I don't. So, you know, what I don't like to do is beat around the bush. And I'm at the point now where I'm listening to you and I think, you know, you're the guy. You know, if someone wants an answer, just come and ask you. Don't go messing around with politicians and, you know, whoever wants to pretend that they're an authority. Yeah. We're better now. We've got real people here that can make differences, and I'm at the place now where I'm just right behind the likes of you, saying, okay, let's do it. Let's change it. Yeah. We're ready.
Just give us the tools. Well, you know, there's a lot of people. A lot more than we started off with around the world, who have realised things have changed. Certain things that should have taken place. People say, no, nothing's changed. There's certain things still running around, and I understand that. But there's certain things running around that you think's running around that they're not.
Yeah.
Far more than perhaps people realise yet.
You know what I'd like to do as well, Thomas? I'd like to reach out to all these people, whoever's listening on this tonight. There might only be 10, but anyway, it's worth saying. Anyone from any agencies who are listening to this tonight, I'm a normal person, and I'm a normal person, and I've got integrity, truth, and honour in my heart, just like Thomas. And we're trying to make a difference in this world. So if you're listening on this, trying to savvy yourself up to how to be a decent person, then be one and start tomorrow. Start tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it just takes. It only takes a few, and then it reaches a tipping point. You know, I keep often mentioning one of the members. Decided to watch the 100 because I've referenced it a number of times, because it explains human history and fills in some of the gaps. And this particular person was struggling with it. You know, I'm not seeing where you're going. And then suddenly there was one episode, and it's whoa, everything makes sense now. It's all lined up, and the aha moment is always just around the corner if you keep searching. Eventually you get to a certain level where you don't have to search. The aha moment comes to you, and that's then when you stand in your own inner truth, not anybody else's, not churches or religion or lords and gods and all that stuff. They're all exterior, designed to muddy the waters. Period. Each and every one of them. Everything you have and everything you ever needed, all of you that listen to this show, is inside of you. Where we have to stop the limitation where an ordinary kid from Liverpool in a rough area is not capable of running government. Because society tells you, oh, it's only Liverpool, or it's only the back streets of Chicago, or it's only someone from the Bronx. No, those people have the same abilities as everybody else if they're just given a leg up.
Thomas, I posted something today and it said, a flower that grows in the ghetto knows more about survival than the one in fresh meadows.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So you know all these big ego-centric idiots with all their money and all their false pretences. They just need someone like us to come up, give them a little slap round the chops and tell them to go and sit down. We've got it from here.
Yeah.
I'm sick. You know, that's all. I'm just ready to do that. Go tell them to sit down, take a break. You're on the bench.
Yeah. I think more of the people are called the clowns. They'll know who they are. Yeah. Some of them interfere with this show, as you know. Reality is slapping them on both sides of the face and on the top of the head at the moment. And it's...
You took that your head.
And that's a difficult process because, again, I will look at it from both sides, not just from one, because that's how you gain wisdom. They've been thinking their self-importance and their importance was they've got badges on their shoulders, when in reality they're badges of dishonour. Because there's nothing honourable about killing people. I don't care who you are. There's nothing honourable about killing people.
Blood on their hands, Thomas, haven't they? You know, and they've got to deal with that. That's their bad lot.
And then suddenly they've realised that there's just, in inverted commas, ordinary people who know more than they do.
Yeah.
Ordinary people who see a better path than they do. Because they've been built up to be some type of human version of the gods. And their pedestal has just been taken away. It's a harsh reality for those people. Will they react and project, which is the usual thing, like you described in your youth? You resorted to anger because you were frustrated within yourself. Or do you take the easier path? It may appear harder because that's how society has dictated it. And go, you know what? I was wrong. Yeah. How can I help? And it's far easier to hold your hand up. We were talking about this before. It's far easier to hold your hand up and go, I was wrong, and here's the better version, or here's the truth, than to live out the lie. Yeah. Because living out the lie affects every single organ in your body. This is why they catch them on the polygraph test, because every single organ is vibrating because the body knows you're lying.
Yeah.
The eye starts twitching. People start fiddling with the chin, or they're messing with the hair, or they're putting a finger in the ear. In other words,
touching the ear.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Isn't it far easier to just put your hand up and go, I was wrong? There's no body vibrating. All it takes, you may have lost a bit of pride, but pride costs nothing. The damage of telling lies all the time and confusing people and distorting their truth is resonating like a virus through your system, each and every one of you.
Yeah.
And I don't care what position you're in, I don't care whether you're the president or you think you're the king of the world. You're not more important than the average person on the street. You're just doing a different job, and you've forgotten that. Nobody is more important on this planet than anybody else.
Yeah.
The minute you start giving your power away to anybody, you've lost the plot. So if you're looking up and admiring, I want to be like David Beckham, or I want to be like Beyonce, or heaven forbid Katy Perry, you're loosen your energy away. Or I want to pray to the Lord, who is Anu. So you want to pray to a reptilian overlord that's trampled on people there for 16,500 years.
I'd like to pray to Big Bird off Sesame Street, Thomas.
Yeah, you know, this is, again, things that we have to start looking at. Pride costs nothing. Telling the truth is everything going forward. It always was. So you've had a special moment. It was a special moment, I thought, for THI as well, the first baby in THI. So tell us a bit about that and the sleepless nights, or whether they're having sleepless nights, or how's things going with that?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a mad one, to be honest. About a year ago, I started getting led into meeting. I put myself out there a bit more rather than just researching on the internet. I got a bit more active in the community and met a few people in the community. And I met a girl who's quite gifted, who's got a centre in Liverpool, who does a bit of healing, and she sells, nutritional products and all that. It's a nice girl. So I met her, and I done a one-on-one session with her where we went into my heart space. It was called a Source Awakening. Nice. So obviously I trusted the girl before I went into it. So we did it, and it was quite funny. She sat me down, and we started talking. I got myself really into a nice place, and we connected. And she said to me, the first thing she said to me was, "Do you want children, John?" And to be honest, Thomas, I'm 40. But I wasn't really pushing for a child. I was just take it or leave it type guy, mate. Although I love children. So anyway, I said, well, not really. And then she said, what can you see? And all of a sudden I could see a strawberry blonde girl running around in circles in front of me. So I said, a little girl. And she said, how do you feel? And I felt proud. I said, I feel proud. That was that. I went home. Went to bed. Got up the next day. Went to work. And when I got back from work that night, got in the bath. Laura sat down on the toilet, told me she was pregnant. So I basically manifested it, Thomas, and I know I did because I could feel it when I did it. When I seen the little girl, I knew that it was due. I knew it was coming. But it was the next day. It was the next day, Thomas. It wasn't like a week later. It was the next day.
Well, remember what I said in the show, was it September, I think, last year? The manifestability is a lot quicker now.
Yeah, you did mention that. So
I know people haven't took that into account too often. There is some members in the group who realise it and have witnessed it for themselves, which is the best way. But once certain systems collapsed, which they did, then the frequencies that go out to source were more open than it's ever been. There's a deeper meaning and level to that. Perhaps I'll cover in another show. But you have witnessed it, and you have seen it for yourself. But it's not the only. The only thing you manifested along the way. In essence, you manifested Aiden. In essence, you manifested that you would meet up with Cosmic Voice and eventually THI. That's all down to you, John. So, it's been a rough journey. It is coming from Liverpool. I know we both kind of love the city, but it's not an easy place to grow up. Far from it. You know,
it's all character building stuff, though, Thomas.
Yes, yes, it does. You know, it's like supporting Everton. That's character building. You know,
that again.
You know, because it's more about disappointment than glory, and it's how you react to it. So when the glory comes along, you celebrate it more.
Oh, right.
And boy, do we know how to celebrate in the blue half of the city. The spoiled brats across the other side have no idea.
So that is the People's Club, Thomas.
Yes, that's the People's Club. That's where the name came from. It kind of fits anyway, but there has the Everton element. We're known as the People's Club because, you know, whilst we're not the most famous of soccer teams, although we were, Everton has done more to create the soccer world as it is today than any other club around the world. You know, we were the first for undersaw heating, floodlights, stands, seats, everything. You know, and numbers on the back and goal nets. You know, they used to just be posts. And so all on the scoreboard, again, that was a first by Everton. And so we've introduced a lot to the game, and of course the game's kind of gone out of the window now with money, and Everton are not a rich club. They're rich in heart, because Everton is the leading club around the world for caring the community. And the players of Everton Football Club all give a portion of their wages into the Everton caring the community, and they're feeding homeless. And the youth lads just did a fund draw where they put some of their wages in and got some donations and raised £250,000, which is around $350,000, and purchased some houses for the homeless. That's the essence of Everton, that the other club in the city will never ever match. They may have the fame and the glamour and the money, but they'll never replace the heart, and that is micro to the macro of humanity. The elites, or elites, to put it in the correct term, who think they're gods, have had all the fame and the money, but they've got no heart. And they'll never replace that. You won't replace that with fame. You won't replace that with wealth or titles. It's all right in the middle here. You.
Yep.
You know, this is where we're going, where the heart-based people will come forward, the heart-based children will come forward and teach humanity a better way. We've had their violence and their corruption. People have had enough of it. Final words, John?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone in the group for making me feel like I've got a family again, making me realise that there's people out there that feel just like me. We're going to do it. You know, we are no time for pissing around anymore, pardon my French. We can do it. It's just down to us. Let's just come together. No more competing, no more messing around, and let's just take our planet back. That's all I want to say.
Right, thanks for that, John. This has been an episode of An Evening with Thomas. If you wish to come on this show, please send an email to the truth.honour.and.integrity@gmail.com, or give me a message on MeWe or the Facebook page. You know, we've heard this is the 7th in this series, and everyone's been a little bit different and added their own words into it and their own journeys. Why can't you tell yours? Don't be shy. You know, John was a bit nervous at the beginning. Randy was a bit nervous last week. But you quickly forget, and then John will go away from this show with a lot more answers and empowerment within himself than what he started off with, because he's unloaded. And that's what we're about. This is what THI is about. It's about unloading. It's about having your voice, so that you are able to go forward and be the way shower, which is what we're going to need. We need way showers. We don't need followers. We need proper leaders, not to rule, but to teach. And I hope you've enjoyed this show, and I'll be back next Thursday with what's classed as a normal show. But what is normal? We're going to end with a song that's familiar to both John and I, and will be a message for the people also. So this has been An Evening with Thomas, and tonight's guest has been John Bryan. My name's Thomas Williams, and it's a bye for now.